You did it.
One of the things that seems strange, at least it was strange to me, is I remember telling these stories. There's a certain cadence to each story. When I started to write them and sent them off to the editor, a lot of the writing was a short sentence, ... space, time, pause. And the editor sent it back, and it was completely changed. Everything went into a paragraph. And so when I was reading a couple of stories out loud the other night, I thought, oh man, this is weird. This is so strange. And I commented to Kim about it the other day when I brought some books in. She said, well, tell the story. Don't read it. You can read it. But I'd like to tell you a story. I want to tell you my favorite movie because it's my favorite movie. You'll have to imagine a winter day. And I don't mean a winter like this last winter, or the one before. I mean a winter like back in 1979 or 1980, when the guy on the radio said, don't go out today. If you don't have to go anywhere, don't go. It's 25 degrees below zero, and the wind is blowing 45 to 50 miles an hour. So the wind chill is deadly. It was one of those days when this story happened. It was 25 degrees below zero. I was in the kitchen of our little house, looking out over the snowy fields. The sun was setting to the west. I knew that Jonathan, 4-year-old Jonathan, was sitting near the round oak, the wood-burning stove, with his books, with his setup. So I was baking, preparing dinner, wondering where Mary and Annalise were. They're coming across country from Ladysmith through that deadly cold. And I thought, well, I'm going to walk over. I'm going to go see what Johnny's doing. I walked over around the stove, and he wasn't there, which wasn't unusual. Jonathan was a self-directed kid. He would get up, and he would go, and he would hide. So it was my job to seek. So I called out, Johnny! No answer. Johnny, where are you? Ready or not, here I come. And I started looking in all the usual places. I went over behind the couch, and I looked behind the couch, all the while saying, I think I'm going to find you soon, Johnny, expecting to hear a giggle, you know. Nothing behind the couch. Nobody underneath the stairs. Jonathan wasn't in the kitchen. I had just come from there. So I thought, well, he's gone upstairs. So I went up the corner stairway and up through Annalise's bedroom. I looked behind her bed underneath the eaves and walked down the stairs into Johnny's room. I started to get that empty house feeling. You know the feeling. You know the house is empty, and it feels empty. Or the house feels empty, and you're right. I got that empty house feeling. So I got a little frantic. Jonathan, answer me. Where are you? No answer. Looked in the closet, looked everywhere I could think of, behind the boxes of books, behind the clothes in the closet. No Johnny. Where is my 4-year-old son? I haven't been able to find him in the house. It's 25 degrees below zero outside. So I came down the stairs from upstairs, frantic, calling, checking the back bedroom. But the door is so hard, too hard for him to open. But a parent checks, a parent looks everywhere. So I looked in the back bedroom, no Johnny. One place left to look in the house, the bathroom. Straight ahead is the darkened bathroom. And to the right is the back door, and it's open. And Johnny's boots are gone. And his coat is hanging on a hook. And I don't know if Jonathan has been gone 20 seconds, 2 minutes, longer than 2 minutes. I'm grabbing my coat, I'm bundling up, I'm pulling on my boots, and I'm out the door. And I'm looking across the snowy fields, hoping I don't see that small, dark, huddled mass of frozen Johnny out in the snow somewhere. No Johnny. I look down the driveway. Maybe he's gone down the driveway to meet the bus. Doesn't realize that Annalise is coming home with Mary. No Johnny. I can't tell where he's gone because the snow is all packed down. There's footprints everywhere in the yard. footprints on footprints, no fresh snow, deadly cold. The sun is going down. The coming night, a dark blue color of dusk coming in the winter, is creeping up from the east, and I head for the barn. Maybe Jonathan is in the studio. We had spent a lot of time in the studio making things out of clay. So I rush into the barn. I'm calling all this time, Jonathan, Jonathan, where are you? Quiet. Bingo the dog is standing right next to me. And I realized that if Johnny was outside, Bingo would be with him. But Bingo is looking at me, questioning, like, what are you doing? Why are you calling Johnny? He's not outside. So I went to the barn, went to the studio, opened up the studio door, which had one of those magnetic weather strip seals on it. Too hard for a 4-year-old. Empty studio feeling. No Johnny. I went up into the hayloft, looking around. It's getting hard to see because it's getting to be dusk, darker and darker, colder and colder. No Johnny. I came back there. The kid just doesn't disappear. Where the heck is he? I was heading out the barn, past a Dutch door. You know the kind that opens on top and the bottom stays closed. And I open up the top of the Dutch door and I look into the chicken room. And there he is. And he's sitting on the roost with the hens. He's got bare sleeves and his moon boots, and the hens are clustered around him. He's giving off heat. The hens are keeping him warm. It's like wearing a fur coat, a feather coat. I was so relieved. Oh my gosh, I was so relieved. As I looked into the room, I thought, and I asked, Johnny, what are you doing? And he said, I'm talking to the hens. And I asked, well, what are they saying? And he said, I opened the bottom door, of course, and went in there and gathered him up and wrapped my greatcoat around him. He was a spider of a kid. Long arms, long legs. Hugged him to my body and wrapped the coat around him. Closed up the doors and headed inside. The dark is coming. And it's very cold. And I'm so thankful. And it occurred to me that, well, I had to ask, Johnny, did you know the hens would keep you warm? And he said, Dad, I've held chickens before. Now, it's an example, it's one of the stories that I wrote about, but it's one of those stories that has provided inspiration for a lot of different pieces of artwork, for drawings and paintings and little sculptures, and for a containerized piece, which I just thought, I'll bring along. Now, these pieces are more about the experience, the emotion, rather than a memory of Johnny actually sitting on the roost. So, the twigs are kind of reminiscent of the chicken roost. The hens would sit here, he would sit on there. The piece of slate is, it's about cold, hard winter. The owl, of course, is self-explanatory. The base of the piece is about the warmth in the house compared to the cold outside in the chicken coop. It's starting to come apart a little bit every time. A lot of this, there's a whole series of these containers